Welcome back. This afternoon, we're in conversation with Professor Dr. Eddie Glaude, author of Begin Again. Americans are now in the midst of this long President's Day weekend, during which we celebrate presidents past and their contributions to our country. Also in the midst of Black History Month, Baldwin wrote, "What passes for identity in America is a series of myths about one's historic ancestors." Dr. Glaude, if you would, respond to what you think is behind that passage from James Baldwin.
You know, Baldwin is constantly grappling with the way in which Americans tell the story about our beginnings. A story that in some ways makes us, examples of democratic virtue, that says that America has always been honorable in the way in which it has treated others, that we are in some ways a beacon of democratic life, a Redeemer nation, the shining city on the hill. And what he says is that these are legends that we tell ourselves in order to evade looking squarely in the face what we have done. The fact that that the stories we tell ourselves that secure our virtue ignore our vices, ignore the ugliness of who we are. And part of what he's trying to do in these moments is to speak from the particularity of the Black tradition, right, which calls into question that, as he says in Fire Next Time, and I'm paraphrasing here, right, that Black folk have never had to believe the myths of America as the shining city on the hill. We know that that's not true. And so part of what he's trying to do here is to shatter that story that secures our innocence, that enables a kind of willful ignorance, such that we can imagine ourselves differently. We have to, in some ways, leave behind the legends and myths in order to, in some ways, imagine ourselves as a much more mature nation, if that makes sense.
Baldwin loved America, but constantly challenged this country. And you write that Baldwin addressed the quote unquote, the lie, the idea that America has an underlying goodness.
Yeah, I think this is really important, right? Because there's this sense in which America often displaces its sins onto others, that the reason why slavery was justifiable. It's because Black folk were not quite human. And as Baldwin says in an essay entitled The White Problem, written in 1964, that lie has been the basis of our present trouble. Because if we weren't considered human, then no crime would have been committed. And then, of course, in order to justify the ongoing reality of racial discrimination and racial inequality in the country, we talk about these Black folk as kind of caught up in a tangle of pathology. There's a kind of characterization of our capacities and our capabilities that the fault is really our own, as opposed to this insidious belief that white people ought to matter more than others, and how that belief evidences itself in the distribution of advantage and disadvantage. So Baldwin wants us to tell the truth. Right. So to tell the truth so that we can dispel the lies that keep us locked in this never land where we don't want to be responsible or be held to account at all.
Baldwin said people are trapped in history and history is trapped in them. How do we as Americans challenge a review of history so that it's told and taught more honestly and completely?
Tell the truth as best we can, He wrote an essay entitled As Much Truth as One Can Bear, and he's talking about the novelist at this point. He says, what it means to be a novelist simply is to tell as much truth as one can bear and then a little more. So we have to confront who we are. We have to finally examine ourselves, as he writes in Nobody Knows My Name, right? We have to examine ourselves without the myth of America and see what really has happened here. And that requires a kind of maturity, right? And I think it's important for us to leave the myths behind so that we can imagine ourselves differently, because if we continue to believe that we're an example of virtue, right, we will not confront the ugliness of what we've done. That's what the 1619 Project is trying to do. And then you see the assertion of the lie with the 1776 Commission as a response in real time in some ways.
1619 Project being the New York Times Pulitzer series by Nicole Hannah-Jones, in which she hoped to clarify things about African American history. And the answer was, for our audience, explain that, please.
So the answer was to kind of, what does it mean? The response was, that Nicole Hannah-Jones had just simply distorted the history. But what she was trying to do and what that project was trying to do, it seems to me, was not so much give us a different origin story, but to kind of say, what does it mean to begin here as opposed to there? What does it mean to begin with Jamestown as opposed to 1776 or Plymouth Rock? Well, if you begin with Jamestown, a couple of things come into view. Well, one, America was a corporation before it was a country. That's important. What else happens? You have slavery, you have indentured servants, you have native peoples, but most importantly, you have failure. You have failure. And that brings something else into view about how we understand ourselves, right? And so people challenged it, saying that in some ways that she distorted American history. She distorted our principles. And the 1776 Project was an attempt to reassert the grandness of the American experiment, right? To talk about us in some ways as the shining city on the hill in order to secure our virtue, you see, right? And I think that contrast, whatever you think about the 1619 Project, you don't have to make Black people into patriots. You don't have to flatten out all the contradictions that were existing in that moment. I always urge my students when they read the 16 Project to read Toni Morrison's novel, A Mercy, alongside it, because she's writing about that same period in fiction. But, but you have to understand what the project is trying to do. It's trying to unsettle a certain kind of historical imagination, as it were.
And provide another needed perspective.
Indeed.
The end of our conversation with Professor Eddie Glaude, Jr., right after this.